My name is Debbie Friedman, and that's sort of my theme song, I guess. I've written music. I started when I was on a bus on the way to meet my parents who were in New York. My grandmother became artificially ill and called my father, who was in St. Paul, and said, "You have to come here." And he and my mother got in the car and they drove from Minnesota to New York, and I was living in New Jersey at the time. And I met them, but on the way on the bus, this melody came to my head, and I didn't think that I could ever write lyrics. So what I did is I attributed that melody to the prayer, "Thou shalt love," the Ve'ahavta in English. And I attributed to the prayer that, as it was written in the Union Prayer Book, the prayer book that the Reform movement was using at the time. So, as it happened, we got to my grandmother's house, and she had a 7-course meal waiting for us, and she wasn't really sick, and she just wanted to see my father. So, but it was a great meal. And then I went home and had the opportunity to work with a group of teenagers several weeks later, and they were having a retreat. And whereas at the time we were using songs from Peter, Paul, and Mary and James Taylor and Judy Collins in our worship services, because we were trying to find a way in which to connect to our tradition, I stopped for a moment and I taught them this melody, and they were the first ones to learn it. And I couldn't believe what was happening. They stopped and they put their arms around each other, and they were standing there in tears, and they were crying and totally engaged and in ownership of this text. They were in ownership of their Shema. It was a moment that I'll never ever forget. And that was the moment at which the Reform movement took its turn, I believe. Because after that song, that prayer, became something that traveled throughout the United States and became a symbol of communal prayer, of communal participation, of a participatory prayer, something that was unique in the Reform, in the classical Reform synagogues. beginning of the whole transformation in Reform worship. That people began to take ownership of the prayers and to embrace the prayers and to begin to understand. They began to climb into the text of the prayers and to incorporate the prayers into their lives. And it started to happen very slowly, and there was some resistance, I have to say. I don't much like to talk about it. I like other people to talk about it more than I like to talk about it, because I really didn't know about it until I was oblivious, I have to say, because I just did my work and I just sang, and I sang with people, and then I found out that there were people who really objected to it. And I now understand why they objected to it. In the same way that I couldn't sing a huge cantorial piece. I could never expect someone who wasn't trained to play guitar and to sing folk music to sing this kind of music. One of the things that happened was that during the rise of feminism, in which I was involved, we started to be a bit active, and those of us who wanted to hear women's voices in the texts started to hear them aloud. Not everybody heard them. They heard them once we gave voice to them, and not everybody appreciated them because it changed the text, and for some that was an abomination. For some it was a relief, and for some it was complete enlightenment. But for us, those of us who were feminists, it was essential, because we figured 50% of the population was excluded from the prayer. All the prayers were in the masculine. All of the text primarily was in the masculine. But since most people didn't understand Hebrew, they didn't know they were being excluded. So we gave voice, as I said, to some of the texts. And one of the texts to which we gave voice was a story about Abraham and Sarah. Actually, the story is said to be about Abraham. And the story is from the parasha, the Torah portion, Lech Lecha. The translation means go forth. Really, if you translate it, Lech means go, and Lecha means unto you. Go into yourself. Heye bracha. It says, be a blessing. And it's not a suggestion, and it's not an invitation. It's in a verb form called tzivui. It's in a command form. It says, you've got to look inside. You've got to go in unto yourself, and you've got to find that part of you that is the gift that God has given to you, that belongs to the world, that you are here to give to the world. Heye bracha, be a blessing. Lechi lach, to alem that I will show you. It wasn't just Abraham's father who said, Lech lecha me'artzecha, go out of here, get out of my house. We believe God said to Sarah too, listen, you need to go out and you need to do the same thing. You need to be a part of building a nation, because the women need you too. And the women need an example of this. So we sing the text, Lech Lecha and Lechi Lach. Now, for some it's problematic, but for most, not so. Because we're not rewriting the Torah. We're only doing a midrash on the Torah, just as the rabbis did. And I shall make your name great. Lech Lecha, and all shall praise your name. About